Alright, I've had on my mind for a little while at this point an idea that I kind of wanted to make videos for, both for me to revisit later and to share with other people, is methods for dealing with physical health and mental health concerns. I've kind of alluded to the fact that I have struggled a bit with some physical health issues, and I do a lot of managing them on my own, and I kind of wanted to document some of that for my own use and for potentially others who might find it useful. But I also want to cover specifically things that deal with anxiety and depression, which are things that I've had struggles with in the past and did really well for a good long time despite a lot of things that should have thrown me overboard, but I have had some struggles this year as well. And so I wanted to kind of talk about not only kind of to share things that have worked for me in the past, but also to remind myself and document myself using them. Because, I mean, I've been struggling this year with some real big problems, and it's affected me doing the things that I think I'm supposed to be doing with my life, and I don't want to let that keep going. So it's sort of like a kick in the butt for me to not just know that these are things I can do, but also kind of make the commitment out loud and where others can see it that I'm going to be working on some of these things. I'm in a better place now, so it feels slightly disingenuous because I'm not in the hard pits that I was in a little while back. And so, but I do think that it's important to not just hear from somebody who's not feeling these things. Because, I mean, I feel like we see a lot of advice from people who aren't suffering from depression about what depressed people should do. And I think that seems kind of unfair. Not quite right. I don't know if those aren't really the terms for it. I don't know how else to phrase that. But I think the actual somebody actually doing those things for themselves is a little bit more encouraging for anybody who's looking for ways to handle that. So I kind of want to work on some of that, as well as kind of give guides about how I handle my inability to handle a lot of foods and other physical health concerns that I might have. And so just kind of in general, find ways to reinforce what I know I should be doing for my own health and well-being, and share those ideas with others who might benefit from trying those. Although I will say I am not a doctor, and if you have concerns or wish to try any of these for problems you have, I would maybe consult with a doctor before just randomly trying things some guy on the internet says he's doing. So that's sort of what I want to do with this round. And so the very first thing, I'm going to try to do this once a week, I think. It might be a little hard to keep up with that pace, but I feel like it needs to be at least that often. And so it'll partly be vlog where I talk about what I'm trying to do and why, and then how I'm practicing what I preach and whatnot, and kind of a status update on those kinds of things. But the very first thing I want to say is, if you have the chance and you're struggling with anxiety and depression, get your vitamin D checked. That's usually something they'll usually agree relatively easily. But I would also say check your B12, folate, and homocysteine levels. I've had issues with both of those. I've gone to a doctor feeling like I have no energy, I'm wiped out and just pessimistic and crushed by the very daily existence. And We took a look at a lot of my blood work, and I mentioned the fact that I have family members who, when they were younger, had rickets, and so we did some blood tests. And I could probably look up the details, but generally speaking, in the tests that we ran, most people in healthy levels will have a vitamin D level between 30 and 50. Mine was 4. So I was definitely deprived of vitamin D. And putting that back into supplement form was hard to find ones that didn't cause some serious reactions for me. But at some point I may reference a brand, but see if you can find some and realize that different brands are slightly different. I had some pretty tough reactions to some, and others worked really well for me. And when I did take them, when I finally found one that worked for me, it not only helped me mood-wise, but it also decreased a lot of my health symptoms from other illnesses that were a problem for me for a long while. And it made a vast improvement in my health and quality of life. Now, along the same lines, within the last year I've been very, very sick with some problems, and one of those things that happened was my B12 and my folate were low end of normal, but not something that they normally worry about. But my homocysteine levels were, usually you're supposed to be up to 10, 15 is kind of high, and like 35 is where they start to worry about really bad problems being caused by this. I was up on the edge of 30. So we don't know why. It doesn't really make sense, because methylmalonic acids, which usually are off if your homocysteine levels are high, were normal. So we can't quite figure that one out. So we do regular blood tests to figure out where we are on some of those levels. But finding a B12 did incredibly good things for decreasing panic attacks that were waking me up. I was getting 3 hours of sleep a night because I'd wake up unable to breathe and my heart racing. Within about a month and a half of starting a methyl B12 supplement, a lot of those symptoms drastically decreased. I can still have some triggered reactions, but I'm not having them anywhere near a regular level of occurrence. It's just very occasionally something stressful will maybe start me in a mindset of worry, but I don't have the full panic attacks anymore. So those are my first recommendations. Talk to a doctor about B12, folate, homocysteine, and maybe methylmalonic acid, and then vitamin D, because those things can definitely throw you off if they're off. And it's easy for them to go off because D, if you don't consume dairy and certain fortified foods, you're not getting. And B12s, if you're vegan, or if you don't get enough of certain types of foods, these are both things that are hard to get in dietary sources, especially with restricted diets or unusual diets. So definitely look into those. I just wanted to leave you with something to at least start with, and say hopefully we can work through some of these things in the future and work on mental health and physical health ideas. I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in this, but I'm still going to post them because I'm interested in being able to look back on it and commit myself to doing something about some of these things for myself. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time.